Live
Are we? Are we live? Let me see.
in a basement studio
I gotta see this.
in Kensington, Maryland.
You got a
What's up?
alert to watch YouTube.
Did I wonder what
First
that
Women
could be?
Sports
Oh,
I
is
did get
on the mics.
an up-and-coming group, I hear.
Very up and coming.
Very much.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're about to get started here on a Tuesday night. Our advertising is working.
You gotta make money.
Always
Sounds
love
like our friend
find out
from
who's-
Australia.
who's
good.
sponsoring us tonight.
We're good.
Oh, no, okay, and we
There you
also have
go.
Matt Seal. We got Victor Robles
Oh, the mean green.
gunning people down.
Oh, he did it.
All right, we're good.
Just last night.
That was beautiful.
All right,
Vada knew it right away.
Lots of Ken echoes.
Is that Hugh Jackman, by the way?
Okay.
All right, here we go. We have some guests lined up for tonight. We hope we're able to get joined by them during the show. But as everyone knows, I hope in August, football coaches have a very hectic schedule. As of this point in time, their life becomes very less theirs and very much more the teams and the schools and the players. So I think we can all understand if we...
Can you unplug it while we're plugged in? Are you able to
No.
unplug it and plug it back in?
Um,
Should I shoot a text to them and say, give us a call if
No.
you're able, or
No, no,
just
no.
we'll see
We've-
if they call us?
Are we
we've called
live
them.
right now?
We're live. We're live.
We're live
We're
right
on
now.
YouTube.
If they
Yeah,
call, when they call
be a
back us
bonus.
in, yeah.
All right.
But we intend for that. But you've just pulled the curtains open on our
Well,
live
I didn't
audience.
say who.
Matty Seal.
I just said what.
All right, here we go.
But it does say
Here
it
we go.
on- it does say it on the teaser.
Well, teaser.
Let's go start here. Welcome to another Tuesday night. Based in the podcast studios of First Amendment Sports. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Tim Stragan.
I'm glad to see that the talk about the First Amendment sports vacation policy brought somebody back
Yeah.
real quick.
Well, this ain't no Trent
I don't
Williams
see that.
situation. He wasn't holding out for
Written
a
down anywhere, but
5-year deal, as it turns out.
I'm glad we got the band back together.
Just a
Looks like
two-sandwich deal.
We have a full boat tonight, man.
He's Kevin Ricka.
Hey, all I needed was the 90s, the year 1990 specific hip hop remix playlist. If you would have told me
Nice
that, I would have
choice.
driven back and forth on my own, but I don't know if I'd have made it back there all that great.
He's Matt the Real Deal Seal.
It's nice to have you back. It was tough to fill that seat a couple weeks ago. It's not easy.
Yeah, I noticed a few indentations.
Yes,
that
he's working
aren't
it
my
out.
own, but I'm going to figure that out before night's end
So you'll be
Kevin got
comfortable.
here early
and reclaim this chair.
That's right.
to groove it back. Once again, I'm Ken Marangolo. This is the WCAC Spectacular, the Tuesday night show dedicated to the greatest high school sports conference in the land. We are less than 2 weeks away from our debut broadcast, August 24th, live at St. John's. Hosting?
Miami South Ridge.
That's right.
Yes.
Coming all the way from Florida to check us out up here. We will be live from there before the game and obviously throughout
Hey,
the game.
I just thought about this.
What do you got?
Maybe I can hitch a ride with them from Florida to make that game. It's the only game I will not be at because I'm taking my family to Disney World.
So you and South Ridge are switching
Switching
places?
No, I'll just jump on Southridge's bus
Okay.
up here in order to make the game. Bam.
Done. Done and done. Aside from travel logistics, I mean, you're going to be, the monorail will only get you so far. I mean, you're going to have to meet up with Miami somewhere between Orlando
I'll
and,
figure it out.
and their
I'll figure it
school.
out.
Alligator Alley.
The tonight's show is dedicated to a couple of head coaches. That's why I said on the video earlier that coaches' schedules changes quickly in mid to late August. Rob Harris from Archbishop Carroll, Keita Malloy from Bishop McNamara High School are our scheduled guests tonight. We will see if we can't get them before the show runs out. But this is like Mr. Burns' softball team. It seems like everything's happening to the lineup, and so we will hope that their teams are doing well tonight. Inside of 2 weeks of our football schedule, we've had a chance to talk to Brian Griffin. We've had a chance to talk to Joe Rada. We are kind of moving around the WCAC.
Mark Gibbs, Casey O'Neill.
Yep, we have Coach Andy Stefanelli is going to be joining us next Tuesday night. So we're covering all the bases. We're getting everyone geared up, at least getting everyone in the know. I think the coolest thing that we did when we started this out, this season of WCAC NIS out was know your WCAC. You know, who's, Landon Tangwall moving to left tackle, good counsel. MJ Sherman coming back from an injury at St. John's. Quinn Osborne, first team all WCAC linebacker at Bishop McNamara. And the list goes on. But
yeah, Caleb Williams' last pass was a nice one.
It was a sure, and best of luck, obviously, to our main man, Senor Marshall. Offensive line at Gonzaga, second to none. The athletes and the coaches. We talked about Coach Kaz.
I think there's
Griff.
a few other teams in the WCAC
Without a doubt.
want to argue
Might
with
chime
that.
in.
And
And the list goes.
actually have the measurables and the
Without a doubt.
intangibles to have that argument.
And we've talked about them all, but that's the whole point. Over the last month and a half, we've managed to bring all these guys and their programs and their histories to the table in this basement on a Tuesday night. And I think that inside of a week of 2 weeks, I think we're ready to start actually watching some live WCAC football.
I hope so, because my preseason hives break out right about now, and I start.
Yeah, but right now, in this day and age of social media, the hype machine right now, all these programs are showing, highlights of scrimmages. They're putting out their hype videos, their pictures and stuff like that. Some of the stuff that Gonzaga's put out on their line, the pictures they took down at the Capitol, stuff like that, was just awesome. Watching highlights of Marshawn Lloyd this past weekend shooting through the middle of a line, I think about on the 10-yard line, and I'd never seen anybody run through something that fast. Rakim having his
yeah, that was my
saw a nice
your
video of
I'm
that,
down on the
yeah.
sidelines with Mr. Matt Seal. It's typically his sidelines, but I'm allowed down there on occasion. And my son is right next to me, and I don't know if you saw the ending, gentlemen, but my notebook with my pen made a last-second appearance after Rakim also shot out of a cannon coming right at me. You hear me laughing because I was laughing because he was mad because he was tiptoeing the line.
Yeah.
And people might think that I was in the way. Trust me, with that guy's fluidity, I was nowhere near in the way. And he was banging. I think he might have been in bounds. No one would ever be able to know that.
He was holding the ball. I saw another
He
angle.
leapt.
I saw another angle
He
where
leapt reaching for the
Yeah.
goal and
could've
avoiding you at
broken
the
the
same
plane.
time.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
Skill-
what I'm
very
saying
skillful.
is it's getting us so ready
Yep.
for what is going to be an awesome season coming up. And it's just kind of, it's like Pavlov's dog right now, seeing some of those videos and following these guys and getting ready for this stuff. It's been awesome.
So we're gonna hit you hard right out of the gate at St. John's for Miami, Southbridge. I keep wanting to say something different. 1 week later at St. John's for
Miami Deerfield Beach.
Yeah. Coming up. And then the following week at Bishop McNamara, where Lamont Jordan will lead his Riverdale Baptist team, his brand new program, into Forestville. The Mustang territory.
It's going to
Where
be a fun game to do, man.
it's going to be a lot of fun. 3 awesome games and then a little bit of a
How to
break.
do a football game right.
They do.
And we're doing it up. I'm hoping working a little bit with Marco and Tony, and getting those guys, ready to put some extra shine on the Mustangs for when we're there. That's going to be our only time at McNamara, this season. So we want to make the most out of that and make sure people understand that the football is great from top to bottom. Got to get a big win against Riverdale. That's what I want for my Mustangs. We'll get into that later. But for the first 3 games before a little bit of a breather, that's a great way to start fall.
It is.
It's a great way to start the fall.
What a great kickoff. And guess what? Brian Griffin and Tony Johnson and Marco Clark, we know we're going to be treated like royalty. Those guys are going to take care of us, get us set up to properly call the best high school football conference in the nation, and kickstart this season off on the right foot. Man, it's true. We're a week and a half out, guys. I always joke about my preseason hijinks, and I go a little nuts.
Yeah.
But I'm just so ready to see some between the lines real football. I can't wait. And the high school level, it's my favorite. It always starts off the season. And especially as the schedules have changed over time, we never played till later, and the college kickoff happened on Labor Day weekend. Man, August 24th in my brain, it doesn't make sense.
I know, it's early.
Kind of nuts.
It is early.
When we were high school, August
DeMatha
15th.
taking on Don Bosco that night.
Yep.
At 9 o'clock, I'm hoping I am back from Florida in time to catch that one. They're the first prominent big time game for this conference, and I hope everybody's going to be watching.
Well, of course,
pulling
DeMath
for
is on
Stags,
ESPN on August 24th.
I don't know, man. I mean, that
knows.
is a hell of a game to have your first
know.
game back for Bill McGregor. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We all know how nervous Bill gets sometimes.
Welcome back, Bill. Here's DJ Uiagalelei. He's the number one quarterback in the nation, and they're going to go 4 wide and chuck it all over the yard. And
welcome back.
Yeah. Well, it's not be careful what you wish for. That man, it's inborn in him. It's in his DNA.
But you know what?
And I love his coach speak, and he's worried about those fools, but I don't mean
we
fools.
were talking about it earlier.
I don't mean to be disrespectful.
DeMath has got some incredible athletes. They've
No
got
doubt.
a very good defense.
coaches.
We were talking about the game plan being, ball control with a guy like Lloyd, and a line like DeMath has.
I mean,
Look,
dude,
I know firsthand Bill likes to run the ball, so I think there's going to be a heavy dose of that coming.
Well,
Not
we'll
just
get
in this
to
game,
Matha
but
at
all
Gonzaga. We'll get to Matha at St. John's, and postseason, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If and when DeMatha shows up. We get Gonzaga at Gonzaga for the DeMatha game. We get Gonzaga at Good Counsel
and Gonzaga at St.
John's.
To the victor goes the spoils, and
That's right.
That's only
Hey,
fair.
when you win, people want to watch you.
Yeah, they do. And they should, because as we've said a number of times, the funniest thing is that Gonzaga, of all the championships Gonzaga won last year, the football was the most unlikely one, based on how the regular season went. By the time they got to and in the basketball, for that matter,
They
Coach
lost
Turner.
all 3, correct?
Yeah.
In the regular season.
Yes, they were one play away.
And only beat
they were one
McNamara.
play away from being 1-4 in the conference and not advancing.
That is amazing.
And they also, Coach Turner deserves a lot of credit. I don't think they were the odds-on favorite in the WCAC basketball tournament. So Gonzaga deserves a lot of credit, up and down. But at the end of the day, I think what people are waking up to, as well they should, is that Gonzaga offense is going to be fun to watch with that offensive line and with Caleb Williams. And they're going to have guys. You lose Sweeney, you lose Marshall, but you have. They
Hold on,
have
you got
guys.
to take a breath after that.
Yeah, I know.
Relax.
I know, relax.
Relax. Take your time, Ken. You're going to be fine. Those are 2 huge losses.
Yeah, but you know how I feel about watching a guy spin it, and Caleb can spin it.
I know it. And but guess what? There's, as a program, they're going to be just
fine.
Next man up.
Yeah, well, when you have a guy who can put it pretty much, he can make it rain from any spot on the field. You get some guys who can catch, you're going to be okay.
And I'm going to say this as far as we're talking here. My man Sol J over at St. John's has got, a lot of people are talking about a lot of other guys. He's always kind of been a little bit beneath the radar, even though he's fantastic. I think we got some action over here. Or someone just took a picture of him. I'm looking forward to this young man who's traveled half a hemisphere away to come here. Looking forward to being an Ivy League guy. Went back to his roots, committed to BYU. His numbers versus last year's best schedule in the nation were tremendous. And, it's got to be a beat down on him. He's finally had a year to adjust. He just came over last year. That's another young man I can't wait to watch play, mostly because when we talk about the WCAC, we always talk about the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference. This is an amazing young kid with an amazing family who's put up a bunch of sacrifices for him. They're a close-knit group. Man, they're up there. They were where the Rickers used to sit when the Rickers played quarterback at St. John's. So my mom couldn't hear all the boos when I was out there playing. And, get him out of there. And what's coach doing? And blah, blah. They were underneath the shade tree up on top of the hill. And as I walked by the scrimmage, I just had a little chuckle to myself thinking, you know what? This young man's going to have a heck of a year. And I can't wait to be there with us watching him and being a part of it.
Should we give him a call?
Number 1 is ready.
Let's do it.
Top of the list.
Who do we got? Hold on.
Mystery guest.
Let's make it a mystery guest.
Yep.
Who's it going to be? I know it's going to be Coach Rob Harris or Coach Keita Malloy.
I'm trying to give Tony a slight rest.
They've done it again.
Tony.
They always do it.
Let's see what we got.
Hello?
Coach Harris.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Ken Marangola from First Amendment Sports. You are live on the WCAC Spectacular. Thank you so much for your time and also your support. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thanks for having me.
We got Kevin Ricka, Tim Strachan, and Matt Steele on, as well as all of our well-wishers and WCAC supporters on our YouTube channel. We don't consider the WCAC covered until first we talk to all our friends. And ever since last year, I'm not sure, Coach, I'm not sure if you know this, but we've been telling everybody you're our friend. We're making sure everyone knows. Hey, by the way, we're friends with Rob Harris.
I know he's friends with my dad, and he's my guy. So,
yeah.
you guys can speak for yourselves.
Yeah, we've been trying to get by. It goes a long way in this town, it turns out.
Absolutely. You guys are my friends as well. And look, Coach Ricker has always been a friend of mine, so any friend of his is definitely a friend of mine. And if you're his son, you're definitely a friend of mine.
There we go, Coach. I like the way you speak.
So Archbishop Carroll is just basically one of the greatest programs in the history of the WCAC because it's been around a long, long time. We've all played against Carroll. We've played at Carroll. We've played in very many sports against Carroll. You are certainly so welcome on this show in this basement, Coach. We appreciate you, and we want to talk a little bit about your upcoming season, the program. Before the show started, there was probably like 5 or 6 names dropped as far as guys who we grew up watching who went to Carroll. But I have to give the leadoff spot here to Kevin Ricca because he brought up something to me today that was just, I don't know, cool for starters.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing, especially after our conversation down there at Catholic University with all the ADs last year before the championship, Coach. I had a good time talking with you. It was great to catch up a little bit. But you know what I noticed today, doing a little research on Coach Rob Harris and the Carroll Lions, I saw your Twitter feed. And your secondary picture, the one that's tagged in there, is of you running the ball right there on Harewood Road against the St. John's Cadets. Coach, I don't know if you know this, that happened to be my first start, my first game as a high school football player, as a freshman in high school. You know, my dad legitimately fed me to the Lions down there on Harewood Road. 165-pound sophomore, my mom put a scapular in my thigh pad without telling me in case if I died, I'd go right to heaven. But that was that day, that you running the ball against St. John's and your Twitter picture was my first start, man. I sat there and thought, not many people would be able to figure this one out.
Right.
But I'd never forget it. And you were a heck of a fullback. You ran the ball real tough for the Carroll Lions and at Central State. But how about that, man? That's your pick there. And I was in the mix there that day.
That's a special picture for a number of reasons. That picture was taken by a gentleman by the name of Robert O'Durney, who anybody that's ever gone to Carroll in probably the last 30, 40 years was touched by this gentleman who taught religion, social justice. And he was also our pep rally guy, our picture guy, our yearbook guy. But he's one of our figureheads in Carroll history, along with Moss Collins. Never coached the sport, but was a humanitarian in so many ways. And so you to bring that picture up, that's why I have it. He took that picture of me, and he gave it to me when I left to go to Central State. And that day was special because I think I had a $163 on St. John's, 3 touchdowns, too.
All right, listen, hold on. All right, I got a lot of things I want to say real quick, but just I will say this. I have no idea why my family decided to allow me on that field that day, but I grew up idolizing those guys that you, like yourself and the guys that you played with. I'm very glad that picture got brought up, having nothing to do with me. What a special story I'm glad you got to tell here right away. And, hey, 160-pound freshman quarterback did throw for 2 touchdowns that day.
Well,
so, I got to hold up my end of it right here.
Who won that game?
We were about 30-point underdogs. I think it was 27-17. Am I correct, Coach?
Was it that close?
My favorite highlight, Coach Harris, of that day. I was actually in the stands. This is Tip Strack, and I was in the stands watching it because it was my best friend's first start his freshman year, and I couldn't believe it. I saw it all. It was kind of a sloppy day. It was rainy, right? There was
no.
Yeah,
you're confused. No.
Is that not it?
That was my junior year.
When you threw the ball to yourself?
No, that was junior year. No one was open. Junior year.
Monsoon.
No, that was a bright sunny day. The picture was taken, was clear as day. There's a man named Chris Yangus, number 23, was in. Well, I don't know if he tackled you or not because apparently you had 163 and 3. but he was a heck of a player at Northeastern and a good friend of ours who's also been on the show and a champion from St. John's. It was a great guy to have in the mix because he could play some ball, and you were out there in the open field.
Yeah,
and
I remember him. He went to Northeastern with one of my backfield teammates, Silas Calhoun.
Of course. Oh yeah.
And Chris has been on a show. He's been on our show as an agent.
Okay, yeah, wow. I like to see those guys. Wayne Holmes was the biggest guy. I'll never forget Wayne.
Bull.
Wayne I think he was the biggest guy in the league at that time.
No doubt.
He had to have been.
Yeah, Bull. He started as a freshman, and he was a big dude. But listen, like you guys didn't have 100 big dudes out there, man.
Yeah, but that year, if you guys remember, and Coach, everyone in this room probably remembers, wasn't it that year that Anacostia offensive line was bigger than the Redskins offensive line?
No, H.D. Woodson.
They had
Yes.
World or whatever his name was, right?
Yeah, that was H.D.
H-
Woodson.
H.D.
Yeah.
Woodson? Okay.
Yeah.
Big Rob Jackson. There was a bunch of guys. I mean, big
Yeah,
offensive.
Jose White was the smallest
Yep.
down the line, and he was 6'5", like probably 260.
Run.
Playing
Oh.
middle linebacker as well.
Well, Coach, you have a really talented offensive lineman on your roster, and I think one of the things we've made sure of, in the last month and a half is make sure people understand who's coming out of this league, who's playing in this league. Tell us a little bit about your guy. He's a special player, and he's really anchoring your program.
Yeah, Big Anton's a beast.
Yeah, Anton.
Yes, he is. Big Anton he's a great young man. He's been with me for 4 years. You know, he stuck it through the thick and the thin, and all I can say, as far as I'm concerned, he's probably the best lineman in the DMV, hands down. I mean, he's an athletic lineman that can play the left side, the right side. I mean, he could play guard if he had to, but he's played tackle his first 2 years, his freshman and sophomore. He was freshman year he was second team all conference. Sophomore year he was first team all conference, and that was before the split. He was playing right side, and then when the conference we went to Metro and the national side, he's been playing the left side, and I mean he's been dominant. He has Under Armour selection, so he'll be playing in the Under Armour game for 2020. And I just can't say enough about him. You know, he plays basketball. He dropped 20 and had a dunk in a basketball game.
And we covered his buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He had a buzzer beater in a Christmas tournament. Right after taking off his spikes, he went out there and laced them up and had a game winner.
Absolutely.
And I understand, isn't he making his commitment live on air, which is so much fun? How cool is that? Because when hey, listen, Coach, when you said he's been with you since freshman year, and I understand you're the main man and the main reason behind Restore the Roar, and that was decided by all your peers at Carroll, you know, that's got to make you feel great. And to have a young man come in with you as a freshman, and he's going to have his commitment at January 2nd live in front of the nation, I think you've come a long way, my friend.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there myself, coaching in the game.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'm
great.
I'm honored to be a Under Armour coach this year and to be there with my young man and have my family there with them. And, you know, my son's in his class, and they're good friends. They're just that whole senior class is just a great group. And they were my first real recruiting class, so that they're special to me.
That's very special. How
That's what it's all
special is
about.
that? I'm so glad we touched on that.
Well, tell us about some of the other guys, Coach, that you have brought through for 4 years now.
Well, we have George J. Broussard. He'll be on the outside in the receiving spot. He's a Howard University commit that we're looking for big things. He led us in receiving last year, and we're looking for him to be first team. He has some goals that are a little higher, and I think he can obtain them. We have a young kid at the quarterback spot, Robert Lawson, who's a sophomore. He was actually second team all-conference last year. Played a lot of JV, then we brought him on at the end of the year. And we found out that he could really play quarterback when we went down to PVI. And in the third quarter, one quarter, he went 10 for 11, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
As a freshman?
One quarter, as a freshman.
That's a good quarter.
As a freshman.
Yeah.
I can't say I had those numbers on Harewood Road.
No.
So I'm looking forward to him doing big things this year. The line is also we're older than we've been in a long time, so we have a few more linemen that are upperclassmen. Big Clyde Haley, who's at right guard. We're looking for big things out of him. Our center, who's probably our smallest lineman, but the biggest heart, Jeremiah Stafford. Now he'll be a 3-year starter at center, so we're looking forward to that. Lorenzo Green at running back.
Oh, man, he runs hard.
Oh, yes. He brings a thump. He reminds me of myself. The coach
There you go.
tells me all the time that he looks like me, and I tell him, no, he's a little shorter than me. So
Maybe not quite as handsome. Is that what you tell him?
Yeah, a little less handsome.
Yeah.
There you go.
You got to grow into that.
But
Exactly.
he definitely brings the wood. So I'm looking forward to seeing this offense take off and put up some numbers. I think we're capable of doing that. And then defensively, we return a lot of guys that were first teamers last year in the conference. So Caleb Mungo leading us on the defensive line. His dad is a Carroll graduate, was my teammate in 1990. Dion Mungo, who graduated from Carroll, and that his youngest son is carrying on the tradition. So we have a few Carroll alums, children in this group. So I'm excited about seeing these guys. Sean Reed, who was our first team as a freshman inside linebacker, he's returning to do big numbers as well this year. And then our strength is our secondary, led by a few first teamers, Jordan Harris.
Yeah, I've seen tape on him, Coach.
Yeah,
he jumps out.
Dante Harrison. Both of those corners are phenomenal. So, I'm looking for big things in that secondary this year.
And who are you opening up against?
We open up against Eastern High School over at Eastern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Capitol Hill.
Then you guys,
August 24th.
This is Matt Seal, Coach. Then you guys are playing a game right down the street there at RFK. Can you tell us about? There's a couple games, and you guys are involved in that, right?
Yes. We're in the DC Classic again this year against Wilson. Last year we let them off the hook, I think. We lost 26-20.
Yeah.
We went up early and couldn't hold the lead, had a couple touchdowns called back, and so we feel like it's a redemption year. We'll be the home team, so we'll be in the green and gold. And so I'm looking forward to that day.
What a neat little event though too, Coach. Just talk about that, to have something like that and bring a little bit of DC pride to the day.
Well, it's definitely about the DMV. We have some great football in our city, and the whole city last year. The whole city came out. It was 3 games last year. It's been broken down to 2 games, and I think some of the best talent in the area is going to be on the field. So for $10, you get 2 games. You have Carroll versus Wilson at 2:00, and then you'll have Friendship Collegiate versus HD Woodson at 5:00.
Okay.
So it's going to be some good football there. Outside of what's seen in WCAC, we can never go wrong there. But there's going to be some great talent on that field at RK, and it brings a nostalgia back. Any of us that grew up in that late '70s, early '80s, when the Redskins were doing their thing, you go to RFK and the bleachers are rocking and you're bouncing up and down, and you get that feel. And the kids that are playing in it might not know it, but you try to reminisce a little bit as a coach.
If it gets rocking though, and they're on the field, they'll learn fast because that from on the field that stadium rocking. You look around, you're like, whoa, what is going on around me?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the 5 people in this conversation are fully aware of what that means to this area because we didn't realize how spoiled we were at that time.
Oh,
I also,
now.
the converse is what I didn't realize how scared I'd be about high-top gold-painted cleats. Do you still let the guys do it, Coach, or is that something you bust out for a special occasion?
We definitely did it my first year, and some of the kids still do it. Under Armour, unfortunately, came out with an all-gold cleat, so it kind of took away some of that. The kids didn't want to take it all-gold cleats that were made that way. But, yes, we still do it. The kids understand the tradition. And that was another tradition that the gentleman, Robert O'Durney, brought to Carroll.
Wow.
So that was his thing.
Full circle.
If you come through our hallways, a lot of the paintings, the lions, and the things that are on the wall that were always touched up every year, those were things that he put there. So he was a stickler for Carroll pride. You had to understand what that meant when you walked outside of that building, that 4300 Harewood Road. You had to understand what it meant to be a Carroll man and to represent the Carroll community and how many had come before you and the obligation you had to those that were coming after.
Well, just listening to you explain these stories it's pretty evident what you mean to that institution. And hearing you on an interview this week, it gave me a sense of pride. And you said the Ivies, the academies, the Power Fives, the 3s and the 2s are all back. And that's got to mean a lot to you because I know it's every bit more. Football is just a venue, a vessel. But to have these kids have those abilities, those opportunities, I know means the world to you, and I could hear it in your voice just like I'm listening to you right now. And hey, man, that's big time. That's why we're glad we call you friends. That's why we say
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I tell you, the kids, they have done such a tremendous job in the classroom, from the time of their freshman year. So last spring, from January, when the coaches were able to get out, I was like, wow, they're coming through the doors. I mean, Naval Academy, Air Force, Yale, Harvard, Brown, and of course, when you have an Anton there in the building, everybody wants to come see this kid, and then they find out, oh, we have a sophomore, LaRon Hudson, is going to be a junior. He's 6'3", 190 pounds, and he can stretch the field. He can catch the ball, So we have a junior receiver that has 12 offers right now. We just landed probably the fastest 8th grader, rising 9th grader, coming into 9th grade in the country. And Nicholas Harbor.
Nicholas Harbor. I've been reading about him.
At Nationals, 10.8, I think 10.86 in the 100.
Wow.
That'll work.
Yeah.
That gets it done. Well, I mean, Carroll has, and I assume, is he going to run some track? Because Carroll's track program is excellent.
Definitely.
The fastest girl in the country.
Yeah,
one of them.
well,
Coach
routinely has.
told me about the 2 young ladies he's got.
Yeah, the Carroll track program is routinely one of the best programs in the nation. And Coach, while we have you, since I want to make sure we always put the right shine on our schools. We talk a lot about Lawrence Moten, and we do. We talk a lot about Al, our man,
Our boy Al Clark. We've had some fun
and
with
Marvin
Al.
Graves, and we do. We love these guys. Little Boomcha
Jamal
Boomcha, little Johnny
yeah.
Dawkins. But people, I mean, the president of Notre Dame went to, Ed Malloy went to Carroll. John Thompson Jr. went to Carroll.
Right.
Absolutely. Jamal, of course, and another, local coaching guy, Mike Lonergan, and everyone, we've been tracking him for the longest time. A Carroll grad. Not just players, but coaches, not just players, but, prominent people in the community that have absolutely touched our lives. You don't even understand. I mean, Eddie Jordan, a Carroll guy. You don't want to leave guys like that out.
Hold on, you can't leave out George Lefwich, who coaches.
you're
My
right.
wife is the
That's what I was gonna
AD
say.
at a local
100%.
grade school, Coach, and her 5th and 6th grade girls basketball coach, she came to tell me 4 years ago, is a man named George Lefwich. I almost fell off the damn couch. I said, "Are you telling me?" There's got to be a different George Lefwich. Nope. And I coached the 7th and 8th grade team there. I went and said hello to him. Hey,
He's still around.
I could sit there and listen to him talk for 2 days straight. Oh, man. But, yeah, how lucky is she? That's her first hire. He walked in and said, "Hey, boss, you mind if I stick around?" She said, "Sure."
Right.
Who's this man, George Lefwich? I said, "Baby, go grab the computer. I'll see you in 2 days."
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead, Coach.
And George is a great guy. He came, and I would definitely lean on him while I was the AD as well, and get feedback from him. You talk about the tradition at Carroll. We have the current lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland, the former lieutenant governor, and Boyd Rutherford and Michael Steele are Carroll graduates as well.
Yep.
So we have a lot of tradition and a lot of history, and I think that's my obligation to make sure that the young people that come through that building now understand, the shoulders that they stand on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to ask you. Kevin had brought it up that you came up with the theme of Restore the Roar. What are you doing to marry up those golden days of Carroll, and unfortunately that you guys went through a rough patch there, but what you're doing now to try to get the young kids to know what Carroll once was and where you want to take them again?
The biggest thing is to reconnect the past with the present. Marvin Graves comes through frequently, and when Marvin comes through, I let him talk with the boys. Give them some words of encouragement. Me and Sammy, Lawrence Moten, Lawrence used to pick me up when I was a junior and he was a senior. When he was a junior and I was a sophomore on his way to school.
I still think he should have played football, man.
Yeah, so that was my guy. So when these guys come back, I implore them to, hey, man, drop some knowledge on these kids. You know,
Yep.
they need to hear from you.
They
You know,
do.
tell them who you are. I want them to know who you are. I
Yeah.
want them to make sure they know. And not just those guys, but anybody that's a Carroll alum is welcome with open arms, and that's male or female. You know, we invited girls basketball teams back for basketball games because my thing is we have to keep the connection. I think that's something that the other schools, St. John's, the Math, I think they do that very well.
Yep.
And I think that's what keeps the life, because I'm a firm believer in culture does not graduate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's what happened in that rough patch for us. We allowed the culture to disappear. And our institutions thrive off of that.
That's great, Coach. That's
Yeah.
great. It's great to hear, and you're absolutely right to bring those guys back, because not only are they they have pride in where they came from, and explaining that to the kids, it brings them back, you know, and they want to give back to you guys. That's the way it works. That's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
And I definitely heard you mention this, but I love the saying, the Lions helping the Cubs. And that's
Yeah.
There you go.
and that's big time, man. Hey, if there's anything we can do to help restore the roar, you know we're right here, and you know how we
absolutely.
feel. You just talked about 5 heroes of my youth,
Absolutely.
and all Carroll alums, guys I looked up to.
We'd love to
following my
get those
dad
guys
around.
on. We've talked
Yeah.
about getting Lawrence on, and you know, some other guys, getting Al Clark and all them, getting them to join us and be a part and tell their stories about their day, man.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
Coach, you know, this is our first it's our second year, our first expansion of games we're doing, and we were able to get around to a bunch of schools, you know, this season, but our mission will not be complete until we get down there, and so please help us out. I want to make that commitment, especially to guys like you, who are so you know, important in the story of the WCAC. I mean, we're talking about a school that's owned and operated by the Archdiocese of Washington. I believe that's still true.
It is.
Yeah, and that's we want to be a part of that. Let's work it together to do a game at Carroll next season. You know, whatever date works out best for you guys, we'll figure out a good matchup, because we just have to turn the First Amendment Sports cameras, you know, on your field.
And on that history.
Yeah.
Moss Collins Field.
On
yeah.
that Moss Collins Field is a beautiful looking green on a Saturday afternoon. And certainly, like I said, we won't feel like we've done our job until we get down there. So
Absolutely.
that's what we're telling you right now. Keep us in mind, you know, for next season. You know, one thing, Coach, we're learning now is that we have to plan a year out. Last year we planned a year out. We got 2 games in. This year we had like 5 months, and we're going to make our way around for a bunch of weeks, you know, in the regular season. And next year, it just like I said, Carroll is a priority for me personally. Also, for all these guys personally, but for me personally, as a kid who grew up in the Archdiocese, I was a Archdiocese of Washington rep for my church and for the region, and all of our events ended up at Carroll. I had so many days at the cafeteria there, hanging out with a bunch of other kids from all the different parishes and schools in the Archdiocese. I went to just countless dances and socials in that gym. I saw a bunch of different bands come through that auditorium. So Carroll to me was you know, it was a big deal. My dad's friend, my dad went to McNamara, and some of our closest family friends went to Carroll. I'm like, I'm like,
Get some tissue real quick.
it's getting dusty in here
Getting
tonight.
our Roy Firestone on us again.
I'm so happy to have Coach Harris on our show. I want him to know how much we appreciate him. And Coach, you know, this isn't our first time invoking your name. But if anyone asks, if you know Ken or Tim or Kevin or Matt out on the street, just say yes, and then, you know, we'll tell you whatever that got us later on. We'll split you 50-50.
Hey, I'm good with Coach. You guys figure out your own deal, man.
There you go. Absolutely, fellas. And look, tell Coach Ricker he's always got a place in my heart. And let me just share this story with you guys about Coach Ricker. Coach Ricker, even though he coached at St. John's and I was at Carroll, when it came time to do recruiting, he reached out and told me whatever I needed in my recruiting, he would help me with. And I will never forget that. As a 17-year-old kid, a coach from an opposing team, and you guys know how heated in the day it was with Carroll and St. John's. For him to show that kind of love and sportsmanship to a young kid, it just did something that has helped me as a coach later in life. As I think about it, the hospitality that he showed in those moments.
Well, Rob Harris, I get to go home and tell my son that story tonight. We'll just keep it moving right in that direction.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you mentioning my dad like that, and it means a lot. Thanks, Coach.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Well, we're gonna have you back. You owe us a basement trip at some point, not in season. We understand how that works, but we hope that you will join us, and so you can be in. Listen, people don't want to see us anymore. They need a little bit. They need a little bit of that handsome to come on in, and so bring it with you one night. You got an open invitation. Thank you for everything that you do. Good luck on the season, and we look forward to talking to you again soon, Coach.
Absolutely, fellas. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Coach.
you, Coach. Good luck this
Appreciate
year.
it.
All right. Thank you, Coach. All right. Bye-bye.
I'm going to
that's-
give you this back. That was awesome.
That's a gentleman right there.
Yeah.
That is a classic WCAC gentleman.
Well, and just once again, guys who grew up in the league, played in the league, went to schools. You said it earlier, Kevin. The C part, the first C. The Catholic part, the community that it makes. And to have a guy who's been through it, was there during that time for Carroll in the 70s and 80s, and almost up into the 90s, and then to be there to restore it is truly what is needed. And it's so great to hear some of the things that are happening over there, and we're all behind it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what a good guy, man. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Great guy to have on the show. And you just know by listening to him how many things he's done for the kids. And that's what we do around here. We just had a guy on here that does more for the kids than we could possibly imagine.
That's right.
And, man, he's got a big C on that chest, doesn't he?
Yep. I Carroll absolutely was like a regular stop for me in my high school days for all like extracurricular stuff. So I know that drive well. I know the building well. And like I said, I feel like I'm sitting in the cafeteria, trying to snake an extra chocolate chip cookie when no one's looking. I love it.
Basically, you stole food from Carroll.
From Archbishop Carroll.
Yeah, probably maybe a chip or two, bag of Utz.
My dad was Carroll alumni, so we used to go down and watch St. John's Carroll and DeMatha Carroll football games. It meant an awful lot. It was great to have him on the show. He was a fantastic guest.
Yeah, grudge matches in WCAC when I was a kid. Like I said, our families come from it, obviously. And when Carroll was playing McNamara, I've seen Carroll at St. John's. My dad took me to that that game when I was real little. So yeah, I mean it's just I hate that the story of the WCAC sometimes gets sucked in by the national media into this area of it only being a couple of teams. It's not. And we understand the landscape. We understand what the expectations are of certain teams in any given year.
On a yearly basis.
Basis.
The history's
But
deep.
The history is so
Without
deep,
a
and it's
doubt.
not going
Well
anywhere,
said.
and it needs to be constantly kept in focus.
Refreshed.
And refresh, and making sure people know that there's no throwaway team in the WCAC for any reason, and not the least of which on the field of play.
That's why we're
in any
here,
sports.
man.
That's why we're here.
That's what we're doing.
That's what Tuesdays have become all about. We will never forget all of it. And I want to say this because I think we're going to go out on that, guys. I think we're going to kick the Mustang interview to next week. I think Coach Malloy had some stuff going on that came up this afternoon. That's what happens.
How can't they?
It happens.
It's 2 weeks before the season
It's 2 weeks
starts.
before the season
and you're,
starts.
And you're the head of a program under a
He's
microscope.
probably in a dark
from the
room
moon.
He's on a
Yeah.
chalk,
Film
with
right
a
now.
He's watching
chalkboard
film,
and a
without a
video
doubt.
remote control.
But it just in the interest of letting people know that we are intending to get around to as many places as we can. We're on the cusp of announcing another game on our schedule this season. If we're lucky, we'll get it. But at the same time, I want to wish a good luck to the Paul VI community. So this is their last year on their current campus before they move. Just like they might be farther away than Riken before it's
Whoa.
all over. We'll find out.
They're gonna go further than the Hawaii.
We're gonna do
of
the measuring.
WCAC.
We're gonna do the
Alaska?
measuring.
They're going to
But
Alaska.
We don't want to
They're
forget
the
these
Alaska
guys.
of the WCAC.
They could be the Alaska.
Loudon County.
Loudoun County,
Allowed. I
Alaska.
mean, they're out there, but they are closing out the campus this year. They're calling it their victory lap. So as each team plays on their field for the last time, I believe their last home football game at Paul VI is against St. Mary's Riken. ironically. And I believe it's on Friday night, October 1st. The day before, we will have another game that next day, and I believe it's a St. John's game. But we are potentially going to be out there in Virginia for their last home football game. And if we are, we'll be super thankful, and we'll make sure that let everyone know that the WCAC is strong in Virginia, has been strong in Virginia for a long time, and continues to be. So we're proud to almost kind of announce that, but use that as a reason to say, hey, listen, the victory lap. If you don't know what the victory lap is, that's what Politics is doing this year. They have some great sports programs, boys and girls, and we want to make sure that we don't let that get forgotten as well. As long as we're never forgetting stuff, they deserve to be remembered as well. Guys, I thought it was a pretty successful Tuesday of remembering.
It's the most I've remembered on a Tuesday for the last 3 weeks. I can assure you of that.
That's a strong statement.
Yeah,
that's a strong statement.
In all fairness, just what a good person.
Yeah,
just what a good guy. Like, this is the cool part. We always talk about the people. I always say this: it's about the kids and the people we get to associate ourselves with, including you three. I'm getting a little emotional here. No, but it makes it go. It makes it work, and we're all here for the same reason. That's why it works on this end. Man, this guy's out there doing things at this place that is so historic, and he is the guy that the symbolism, and they all, the alumni, everyone pointed at him. They wanted him to have this job. He was the guy. He was handpicked by his peers to restore the Roar, and you know what? If anyone can get the job done, it's that guy. There's no doubt in my mind.
And the WCAC is a great place to restore the Roar, and you get great players, a great talent base. You get to play great teams. What coach wouldn't want that opportunity? No. And we'll get to talk to Coach Keita Malloy from Bishop McNamara about that very thing within a week. It's an exciting time. WCAC is the school's about to be back in session. And when school's back in session, it's great for us because we don't got to go to school. We just get to talk about the greatest high school sports conference in the land.
And fall is upon us.
And it's right there. And, again, just to echo what Kevin said, we do this because it's fun, and we do this because we want to make sure people don't forget that this is not about a sports game you might see on TV, even the ones we're calling. It's about so much more, and we hope we bring you that so much more. And if we're not, let us know, because we will bring you even more of it. But,
well, if this is the first night you tuned in to listen to Coach Harris, which was awesome, go back also and hear the guys, Griff, Casey O'Neill, Mark Gibbs, Joe Rada, who've been on in the last just few weeks, and just hear the same thing from different guys who are running, different programs at different of these schools. But it's all very similar too, in the same way, and which is what makes it really cool. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already.
It's a great community to be a part of. We're proud to be a part of it, and we're proud to kind of come up from the basement, bringing you guys that community because it's the greatest. We bleed our school colors, but at this point in time, it's so important to make sure that everyone understands that we're nothing without each other. We're not the WCAC is nothing without every single school, every single kid, every single alum, every single teacher and administrator and coach. It's awesome, and it deserves to be celebrated at least every Tuesday night.
It's a true sense of community.
Yeah,
it really is.
I agree, brother.
He's Matt the Real Deal Seal.
Can't wait for the pads to start hitting again here.
He's Kevin Ricca.
Everything you just said, and I feel it, and we're all a part of it, and we all got to do our part.
That's right.
The way Coach Harris would, the way Casey O'Neill, the way Mark Gibbs, the way Joe Rader, the way Brian Griffin does. We all chip in, and listen, we always say we're brothers, and we're going to mess each other up.
Yep.
But no one's coming here and dealing with this family.
Nope.
Nah, we got it locked up.
Anything else?
Good night, Ken. Till next week. Be a good sport. I forgot. Sorry, I forgot.
He's Tim Stracken.
I can't wait. This is so much fun. And to all those kids, we do this because of you. We do want you guys to remember what's truly important, right? What I want to always say is stay grounded, be rounded, make good decisions. Remember who you are, your family is, all the people around you. But really looking forward to turning this up in a week or so.
Everyone wants to leave the place. What's rule number one? Leave the place nicer than when you got there. And I think we can boil that down to how we do the WCAC. We're going to leave the WCAC a better conference than the one we found, and we found a pretty darn great conference. And we're going to figure out a way to leave it better off when all is said and done and when we're finished. And I think we're going to.
Until someone tells all of us to shut up.
Yeah, until we are told to go home and go away. But until that day, I'm Ken Marangolo, and this is the WCAC Spectacular. All right, we're still live, guys. Be careful.
Yeah,
Still watching.
that was cool, man.
For all you guys that are listening, appreciate it.
Thank you, Carroll
Thanks so
fans.
much. Spread the word. Get other people involved. Subscribe.
What do the kids say? Hit that button.
Free.
Smash it.
Smash that button.
Free.